Yes, Abubakar. What is reproduction and why is it important? You were present in the previous class? Okay, he's not here in the class. Okay, anyways, let's continue. So see, Priyanka, in the previous class, we were learning some basic things. So first of all, let's go through whatever the things we have discussed so that you also will be able to catch on. So in the chapter reproduction in plants, there are lots of things that we have to study. Huh? So, but before that, as we know, that for continuity of life on Earth, for life to continue on Earth, reproduction is important. Reproduction, it ensures the continuity of a species and keeps it from becoming extinct. For example, the number of any given organism on planet Earth, in order to continue, in order for a species to continue living in the living on the planet Earth, it is important that they are able to produce organisms of their own kind. They can give birth to organisms having similar characteristics. Basically, they can produce offsprings. As we know, for a given organism, the processes that keeps it alive is nutrition, digestion, absorption, assimilation, excretion, blood circulation, pumping of the heart, proper functioning of the different organs of the body. That is sufficient for a living organism to stay alive. But for that organism to continue to exist, but for the species of that organism, but for the same kind of that organism to continue to exist on Earth, it is important that their number multiplies, their number increases. Isn't it, Abu Bakr? So that is why reproduction is important. It ensures the continuity of the species and keeps it from becoming extinct. Say, for example, there are two wild buffaloes. There are two wild buffaloes, one male and the female. So, if the reproduction among the wild buffaloes were to wild, let's say any wild cattle, for example, uh, or not the buffaloes. Let's say any wild cattle are there. So, if the reproduction were to stop among them, so thereby their numbers will decrease after some time, because birth of new cattle will not take place. Eventually, there might come a time that they might become extinct as well. Getting it up. So that the number of species increases and it continues to stay on Earth, reproduction is important. That is the thing. And different organisms have different ways of reproducing. Like in the case of humans, a male and a female partner is required in the case of reproduction in humans. So thereby that is called as sexual reproduction, where two parents with opposite genders are involved. So that is called as sexual reproduction. But in the case of plants, what we see that plants can not only reproduce in the sexual manner, but in the asexual manner also they can do reproduction. So in the chapter, what we'll be learning now, we'll be learning about asexual reproduction, how the plants will be able to give birth to new plants without the seed, like by cutting some branches of the rose or champa flower, we can grow a new rose plant just by cutting its branch. Or the bryophyllum leaf, how we can grow a new bryophyllum plant without the seed, how potatoes or dahlia can be grown without the seed, or in the case of in like in the algae also, how fragmentation will be important in alga, how yeast will be growing without the involvement of seeds. So all these things we'll be learning here. So plants will be following the asexual mode of reproduction, where only one parent is involved. The parent of opposite gender will not be involved. Getting it, guys? Then there's another way of reproduction in plants where they will be reproducing in the sexual manner, where the reproductive organs will be involved. Like Reproductive organs of the plants are flowers. Right now, the pollination of the flower will be taking place. You know about pollination now? You guys have learned about pollination earlier or not? If not, we'll be learning about this in detail in this class. Okay, good. So via pollination, they will be doing sexual reproduction where flowers will be involved, and flowers will be having opposite genders. Like flowers will be having some male reproductive parts and female reproductive parts will be present in a flower. That we'll be learning in detail. Okay, no? Then we will learn about that. We'll learn about pollination in detail. What pollination is, what is fertilization, what is dispersal of the seed. All those things you'll be learning. Okay, now in a more appropriate manner, you can look over here at the content of the chapter. So first, in fact, in the previous class, we did covered some of the things. Like we did learn about methods of asexual reproduction in plants. There we did started learning about vegetative propagation. Okay, now we were learning about this. So let us once go through. By the way, there are some other things which you will be learning in the class, like in what is budding, what is fragmentation, spore formation, what is it. Then we'd be learning about the sexual reproduction in plants that they will be carrying out via the flowers. So in the case of flowers, you'd be learning about the male part of a flower, where you'll be learning about the stamen, and you'll be learning about female part of the flower, where you'll be learning about the pistil. Then you will get to know about like what are pollen grains, what are ovules. Like if you were to see some flowers, like have you seen hibiscus flowers? Oh, hibiscus flowers.
Yes, sir.
So there will be so many green-like colorful particles in the hibiscus flower. Have you seen that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So they actually contain pollen grains in them. Okay, now they are actually pollen grains, and how they will be important in reproduction. So we'll be learning about that. What is pollination? What are the types of pollination? How fertilization occurs? How fruits are formed and how seeds are formed? Getting it? What is dispersal of the fruits and seeds, and how seeds will be germinating? What are the necessary requirements for seeds to germinate? Before that, in the previous class, we learned that in a given plant, a plant will be having namely two parts. Okay, na? Like the one that will be directly participating in reproduction will be the flower. Fruits, they will be participating in reproduction, namely the flower. Because flowers will further, once pollination is done now, after pollination, if the flower is fertilized, so it will further convert into a fruit and seeds will be formed. So that will be called as reproductive part of the flower. This is called as the reproductive part of the flower. These are the parts of the plant that play a major role in reproduction process in the plants. And they will be allowing the plant to do sexual reproduction. But then you would have eaten certain fruits, certain food items, like we have, for example, here we have potato, ginger, sweet potato, we have onion, mint. So all these plants that we see over here, now these are usually not grown with the seeds, but it is grown with some part of the plant. It is grown with the part of the plant, but not with the seeds. Have you ever seen a farmer sowing the seeds of potato in the soil? Have you heard of it or have you studied about it?
Sir, in our garden we have potato.
You have.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there are some cases like where we can do it in that one also. But usually what we do, farmers would be simply cutting the potato into different parts, and thereby simply they will be planting them, and new potato will be growing out of the different parts. Okay, no?
Yes, sir.
Mhm. So there are two parts. One of them is called as vegetative part, the parts of the plant that will be actually playing a major role in maintaining the life cycle of the plant, like the leaves of the plants. They prepare the food. So preparation of food is their function, right? The stems, their function is to transport the food and water and also act as the pillar, just like the pillars support the house. So thereby the stems also supports the plant. Apart from that, they transport food and water and nutrients also. So roots also will be absorbing the water. and will be sending it to the stem, and the stem will be bringing it to other parts of the plant. So the parts of the plant like roots, stems, and leaves, they are isn't the part these are the parts that are essential to carry out different life functions. They are called as vegetative parts. Normally these parts of the plants are not involved in reproduction. Normally these parts are not participating in reproduction, but when they do, then the type of reproduction that will be happening will be called as asexual reproduction, or basically vegetative propagation. Got this now, guys? Where new plants can be produced from the roots, from the stems, and the leaves and the buds of the tree. When the new plants can be grown out of these vegetative parts, that will be called as a vegetative propagation. So these are the two kinds of parts of a plant. One of them is vegetative part, another one is reproductive part. I suppose it should be clear. Then the reproduction in plants, it can be categorized into two types. One was asexual reproduction, where new plants would be produced without the use of seeds. In this parts, in this process, the vegetative parts like leaves, stems, roots will be participating in reproduction. Okay, now? Then sexual reproduction. Here, the new plants will be produced with the help of the seeds of a plant. And seeds, for the formation of seed, it is important that that plant should bear the flower. Have you ever heard like there's a non-flowering plant? A flower does not bear flower. A plant does not bear flower, but it still has seed. Hmm? Can a non-flowering plant have a seed? Yes. Non-flowering plants do not bear seed.
Yes, sir.
Got this now? So that is the thing. Since they do not have flower in them, the flower is not going to be pollinated. Pollination is not going to happen. Fruits are not going to form. So how can they bear the seeds? Got this now? So that is the thing. So
Sir,
these, yes,
sir, there will be male flowers and female flowers, right?
yeah, they would be male flowers and female flowers. Some of the flowers can have both male and female organ in them. Some of them can be purely male, some of them can be purely female. Some of them can have both the two organs, both the male and female part. Getting it now? So flowers can be male, female, and can be bisexual, meaning that both the parts will be present in it. Okay, now? Meaning that unisexual flowers are going to be there. Like either they will be having male or female reproductive parts. Getting what I'm trying to say? A flower, either it will be having only male reproductive parts, or either it will be having only female reproductive parts. But there are some flowers, for example, the example of a hibiscus which I gave. Remember hibiscus, or the example of rose? These are said to be bisexual flowers. We'll be learning about it in detail since you have brought this question. So I thought it's important to clear. So bisexual flowers will have both male and female parts in them. Okay, now like stamen and pistil, both of them will be present. Getting it now? In the case of, you guys got this now, what I said moments ago. In fact, that will be more clear. I will be showing the pictures and the diagrams. Further, it will be clarified. Okay. Now talking about the vegetative propagation. So here the reproductive parts are involved, or are the vegetative parts are involved? Is the involvement of flowers in this? No. Okay, no? Like in all these cases, do we ever get to see the flowers in these? Like normally, no. Like
No, sir.
flowers are not involved while we are growing these kind of crops. No? So vegetative propagation here, vegetative parts like new plants will be grown either from root, stem, leaf, or buds. Some of the plants are like roses, mint plant, tulips are there. Cherry and apple trees can also be grown using the shoots called as suckers. We should be learning later on. Have a look at this. So the manner in which vegetative propagation will be occurring will be of two types. One where it will be happening without any human intervention, so that will be called as natural vegetative propagation, meaning that the new plants can grow out of the root or the stem on its own, meaning that humans do not have to intervene in this. There isn't any involvement of humans. Got this? What I'm trying to say? Okay. So here, in the case of natural means of vegetative propagation, in fact, few things were discussed in the previous class. We're going to continue from here. Okay. So first of all, we're going to learn about the natural means of vegetative propagation. In this, we are going to learn about the root. Okay, now. So we are going to look at the example of the sweet potato. Okay, now how a sweet potato grows right now. So first of all, what do we know about sweet potato? Sweet potato, it's a modified form of root now, and it's a tap root. If you guys know, it's a tap root, isn't it? There are two types of roots. One is tap root, another one is fibrous root. If you were to ever uproot the grasses, so in the grass, the roots of the grasses will appear like this. Say that this is a grass. So the roots of the grasses would be fibrous, will be very fibrous like this. And all of them would be of the same thickness. So all of them would be of the same thickness and there isn't any main root. But if you were to uproot, let's say, a sweet potato plant, in this, first of all, you will see thick, a thick swollen root will be there, and out of that, many hair-like roots will be appearing. So there is a main root, and that main root is called as tap root. That is called as tap root. Is that clear to both of you? And we have, apart from sweet potato, we have several examples of tap roots are there. Several examples of tap roots are there, like the turnip. Turnip is also one such example. Radish, carrot. What are they? They are basically modified root now.
Yes, sir.
Although we know the function of the root. What is the function of root? What's the function of root? I'm not asking about the tap root. I'm asking about, in general, what is the function of root?
Sir, producing water.
Not producing, absorbing.
Okay, sir.
They can't produce the water. They simply absorb the water from the soil. They will be sucking the water from the soil, not producing. Okay. So their main function is to absorb the water from the soil. Now. But apart from doing that, now these kind of roots like the sweet potato, radish, turnip, carrot, these are said to be modified root. Why? Because they are storing the food. They are used as storage organ. Getting it, guys? They are used as storage organ. They'll be storing the food. That's why we eat them now, because they contain lots of food in it. Okay. So plants that have the tap root or also the tuberous root, these roots are modified roots and acts as a storage organ in the plants, and they will be participating in vegetative propagation. Meaning that if you guys were to look over here, some birds are growing on the root tuber, on the tuber here. Like bird is in a small outgrowth that you can see over here, and this bird later grows further. Shoots have started to develop. Shoot, you guys know, it's the upper part of a plant is called as shoot system. Like you have root system and you have shoot system. So shoot has emerged out of this. Root will also form from it later on. So first shoot has formed from this bird, and it will now grow into a new potato plant. We have the example of sweet potato and dahlia. Getting it, guys? This is also the same image of the sweet potato. Here you can see a young plant has grown further out of it, and it has started to develop on its own root also. Right now. So new plants are emerging out of the swollen modified roots known as tubers, right? Known as tubers. So that is the thing. Okay. So have you guys understood about this one, about the modified roots? How are they like they are how new plants are grown from it? Are we cutting it? No. Simply birds will grow on their body, and that birds will further grow into a new plant, and this is the way how new plants grow from it. Then we have another way of vegetative propagation. You know that normally the function of a stem is, what is the function of a stem? Abu Bakr and Priyanka, what is the function of a stem?
Sir,
Hmm. Yes, what is the function of a stem? I suppose it's not that difficult to answer. Yes.
So it is to transport nutrients.
Transport nutrient, transport water, right now. Anchor the plant, I mean to say, act as a pillar, right now. It will be supporting the structure of the plant like that. So that is the main function of the stem. But some of the stems are modified to carry another function, to carry out another function. Right now, that they will be modified to store the food. Like this example is, this one is modified as the as a, this is a modified stem, and it is storing the food. Getting it, guys? Moments ago we had learned the example of modified root. Sweet potatoes in an example of modified root, isn't it? So this ginger is an example of a modified fruit. You have this one more example like this potato, that is also a modified stem actually. This potato and this ginger, both of them are modified stem. Okay now?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, like
Mm-hmm.
if sir, like the fruit is the place where the plant stores its nutrients, right?
Yeah. Fruit is
So then,
basically. Uh-huh.
sir, like when you cut the fruit, like when you like separate the fruit from the plant, how is the plant gonna survive if you take the nutrients of?
Good question. See, basically the thing is now the plants stores the extra amount of food generated in the form of fruits. The fruit that you see, it's actually the extra food that the plant has generated. Okay, now it's not like all the food is stored in the form of the fruit. That's not the case. The extra food that is generated in the process of photosynthesis, that extra food is stored in the fruits. That is stored in the form of fruits or in the form of vegetables. So the also, you know that leaf, there are some edible leaves also. So some of the plants would be storing the food in the leaves, some will be storing it in stem, some will be storing it in roots, some will be storing it in the form of fruit, and some in the form of vegetable. So there are different parts in which the plant can store their food. It's not only the fruit, by the way. Got this now? That
Yes,
is the
sir.
thing. So they will be keeping some food for them that will be utilized to carry out its life process. But the extra food is stored in the form of vegetables, fruits, some roots. In some roots also it is stored, and in some stems also. That is the thing. Talking
So,
about
sir,
Mhm.
so sir, that's why like but then the sweet potato stores it's all of the nutrients in the sweet potato. So then when you remove the sweet potato, it's the plant is done.
Oh no, see, like you're saying that all the food is stored in this root. So how will the plant be able to survive? See, actually, some of the food will be stored in the leaves. Now, some of the food will be present in the leaves also. The extra food that is generated, that is stored in the form of roots. The extra food that it has generated, that is being stored in the form of this root, and that root will now be called as a modified root. Okay, and this modified root are called as tubers, by the way. Tubers. Getting my point? What I'm trying to say? They will have some food for left for them to carry out its function. The extra food will be stored in the form of root or stem or other things. Okay. So we were learning about the underground steps. Okay. So there what we learned that all underground modifications of the stems are capable of vegetative propagation. Now, Priyanka, what we know, like stems, their function is to transport food, water, minerals, other things. But here they are modified stems. Like this ginger, it's a modified stem. It's storing food also. Right now, like if you were to look at the stem of a guava tree, that stem is not edible now because it does not contain any food in it. So it's not edible. But this ginger, it is also a stem, but it's a modified stem and it's edible. We have the example of the potato as well, right now, as you can see over here. So we'd be learning about this one. Okay. So there are different types of modified underground stems. Some of them are called as rhizomes, some of them are tubers, some of them are bulbs, and some of them are corms also, but this one we're not going to learn. Only we're going to learn about rhizomes, tubers, and bulbs. There's a slight difference between these things. Okay, now there's a slight difference, but all of them are modified stems. All of them are modified stem, but they are slight difference. There's a slight difference between them. Talking about the rhizome, rhizome is fleshy and horizontal underground stem that is modified to store the food. So rhizome is a horizontal underground stem that is modified to store the food. Okay, na? Getting it. So it is growing horizontally. You understand what is horizontal? So it is spreading in the horizontal direction. If you were to see the ginger, gingers will not look like this. It will not be looking like this, for example. Getting it? Now, it's not like this. Usually what we observe that ginger would be spread like this. It will be spreading in the sideways, basically. Trying to understand what I'm saying. So the birds that are growing, it is growing on the sideways. Okay, it is going on the sideways. So talking about this ginger plant that we see over here, it will also be they are birds developing on the ginger. And furthermore, if we were to cut this part of the ginger, so this will grow into a new ginger. If I were to cut this part of the ginger now, and if I were to plant it if I were to bury it in the soil, so after a few days to after a few weeks, a new plant will form out of it. Getting the point what I'm trying to make here? So here again, the birds are present on the ginger, and with the help of these birds, a new plant can be grown. Okay, now you might think of this like here also we did learn about bird in the case of the modified stems, and in the case of roots also we did learn about birds. So what is this special thing about the birds? What is the special thing about the birds? What does these birds basically contain? So basically they contain some special type of cells. These contain special cells which can give birth to a new plant, which can grow into a new plant. Getting enough? They contain special cells in them which can grow into new plant. So wherever the birds would be present, just cut it, okay, no, and then plant it under the soil. It will grow into a new plant. So that is the case of underground stem. The first one we have discussed is the rhizome. So the special thing to be noted down about the rhizome is that rhizome are horizontal underground stems. They are growing horizontally, not vertically. Okay, now got this now? Okay, that is the thing. Furthermore, next type of underground stem is we have the potato. The potato is also an underground stem. Just like the tuberous roots, moments ago we were learning about the sweet potato. Some plants have tuberous stems also, and these tuberous stems would be storing the nutrients, would be storing the food. Okay, no, and they bear birds on them. Like these are the birds. Okay, now first of all, there's an eye-like structure. Like these structures are called as eye, and out of that eye, a bird will first of all start to form, like the one that you see over here. This tiny structure, that is a bird. Later on, this bird will grow into a new plant, like you can see over here. See, shoot system has developed. New potato plant has started to form from here. Right now. So here, look at this image as well. Like this is an old potato tuber which is planted in the soil. From this, from this bird, a new potato plant is growing from this bird. Right now, so a new potato has grown over here. There's one more potato plant growing from this bird. So the tuber right now, this underground stem which we are learning, they're also modified stems because they are storing the food. Right now, look at this animation as well. You have this potato, and from the bird of the potato, a new potato plant has grown over some time. From where it will be growing? From these eye-like structures. You might have noticed these kind of structures on the potato. Okay. So that is the thing. These tubers, these are soil and modified underground stems which store food. Plants like potatoes, they have modified underground soil and stems that help in storing the food. And these stems also have special structures called as eye that have birds in them which give rise to new plant. Is that clear to you? Both of you, please let me know. You guys learned about this stem tuber?
Yes, sir.
Priyanka?
Yes, sir.
Next, we are going to learn about runners. First of all, look at these images over here. We have the example of the strawberry and the grasses. So strawberry grasses grows via running method. Basically, they are
Sir,
said
I
as
have,
runners. Yes,
sir, I have this grass growing.
you have this here right now.
This grass.
Okay. So what we observe here now, like they are, like consider the case of the strawberry plant here. What we see here, like the branch, this stem of the strawberry plant is growing very close to the ground. It's growing close to the ground. So it has some stems, okay, na? That stems, by the way, are called as stolons, stolons. Stolons, or also we call them as, let me write it once again, stolons, okay, now this one over here. These are called as stolons, or also called as runners. So these stolons or runners, these are modified stems. These are kind of modified stems, and they are running parallel to the ground, running close to the ground. And they contain birds in them. They also contains buds, birds are present in them. Okay, now? And as these birds comes in contact with the soil now, so thereby root and shoot system will start to grow from it. For example, say that this is the main plant and this is the stolon. And stolon will have birds in it. Like say that this is bird. Okay, now? Now, if this bird were to come in contact with the soil now, if it were to come in contact with soil, so roots will start to form, shoot will also start to form, and it will grow into a new plant. So birds have a role to play in this runner also. Got this, both of you? So we have example of strawberry, mint plant, grasses. All of them will be doing vegetative propagation in a natural manner by the help of birds present in them. Got this now? So this is the thing about it. Okay. Now question is, what part of a plant is the stolon? What part of the plant is the stolon? It's basically this horizontally running stem that is running above the ground This is called as stolon, or also in other terms called as runner also. So is the runner clear to both of you? Priyanka, you understood this? Yes. Abu Bakr, you got this now? So these
Sir?
systems, yes,
No, sir.
not getting it. Okay. Let me explain this again. See, basically, the runners, basically there are some plants. For example, have a look at this one, the first one. What do we observe like in this one now? What do we observe? There is this main plant. So many stems are growing out of it now. All these are different stems arising out of this plant now. These stems, we call them as runners. What do we call them as? We call them as runners. Let me write it over here. We call them as runners, or also we call them as stolons. Now the special thing about them is now, as these grow, as they are growing horizontally meaning that like this, if this is the ground, so they are growing like this. Okay, not like this, but like this. So they are growing horizontally above the ground, and they are kind of creeping above the soil. They are creeping above the soil surface, and they contain birds in them. BUDS, birds are present on them. For example, if you guys can notice down over here, like this structure, this is a bird. Getting it? From this one also, roots can develop if it touches the soil. So they contain special structures called as birds. And these birds, they have the potential to produce new roots and new shoot system if it were to come in contact with soil. So a new plant will be formed. Like this is the parent plant, and this one is the daughter plant. This is the parent plant, this is the daughter plant. Getting it now? So as the runner will be running on the ground, so when it touches the soil, so the bud will start to grow. Okay, now, and these structures, these plants will develop the root system and the shoot system also. Okay, now, also this plant may remain attached to the parent plant for some time. Later on, it might get detached on its own. It might get separated on its own, but for some time, it will remain attached to the parent plant for some time. Okay, now, eventually there will come a time when the connection between the daughter plant and the parent plant will somehow break, and thereby this new plant will start to grow on its own without taking any help from the parent plant. Also, you see, like whenever you cut the grasses, why does the grasses grow so quickly? Because runners can grow, they can grow very fast. Okay, now, runners, they are very fast to grow. Getting this now? Strawberries are one of the most common example of plant grown that grows by the runner method. You have grass also. Peppermint is also one such example that grows by the runner method. I hope it should be clear. Hmm? Priyanka, you understood this? Yes, Priyanka?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're audible. Just repeat what you're saying. Talking about the leaves. Leaves, they're also. Yeah, Priyanka, what you're saying. You're talking about the leaves. Leaves are another vegetative part of a plant. Priyanka, if you have to say something. Actually, you have some network issue. Okay. Get it fixed. Okay, now it's been long. We have been facing some network issue. Next, we have vegetative propagation by the leaves. So leaves of a few plants, they get detached from the parent plant and can develop new plants. For example, you have the example of bryophyllum right now. So if you were to look at this plant over here, this leaf here, what do you observe? On the edges of the leaf, birds have developed, and that actually birds are present. Some birds are present, and from that bird, tiny plants have started to grow. And notice they have roots also. The white structure that you see, these white tender structure, these are the roots. And shoot system, small leaves have also started to develop. Okay, now, and if this were to come in contact with soil, all of them will start to grow. All of them will start to grow separately. Apart from bryophyllum, there are some other examples of kalanchoe. You have adiantum. These are also some of the plants whose leaves can give rise to, first of all, they will give rise to some special birds called as adventitious birds. And these birds will grow new plants. Right now, that is the thing. Like there's a special plant like begonia plant. In the case of begonia, if a leaf gets injured now, like let's say this is a leaf of begonia plant, for example, if at some place if it gets damaged from here, so there it can grow the birds. From there it can grow the birds, and that bird from that a new plant can grow. Anyways, the main thing you have to remember about bryophyllum leaf. Also observe this image of the bryophyllum leaf. On the margins of the leaves, the birds are present, and that birds grow into a new plant, as you can see over. So that's all about bryophyllum. Next, we have the example of bulbs also. So bulbs, they are also an underground stem which are capable of storing the food. They are modified stems. Okay, now. Also, if you were to, have you eaten the leaves of onion? Have you guys eaten the onion leaves?
Yes, sir.
It is used in so many dishes. So you will observe that the leaves are connected to these bulbs. The leaves of onion, for example, are connected to this. Okay, now onions also, in fact, bears flower looking like structures are also beared by the onion. Okay, now in fact, they are very beautiful. I had this at home. Anyways, so bulbs, they are underground stem to which the leaves are attached, and these leaves are capable of storing the food. These leaves, they store food in them, right? Furthermore, the center of the bulb, it contains an apical bud that produces leaves and flowers. Shoots are developed from the lateral buds. What does it mean? Let us understand it further. So you would have seen that there will be a central structure in the onion. If you open the leaves of the onion, there's a central structure in it now, right? That central structure, from that central structure, the leaves and the flowers grow out of that central structure. Just a thing of common observation, nothing too technical about it. Okay. Getting it, Abu Bakr and Priyanka. So that central structure, that central bud, it is called as the apical bud. That is called as apical bud. Okay. From that, leaves and flowers will be growing from that apical bud, bud. And then they are lateral buds also. From this, the shoots, other parts will be developed. The shoots will be developed from the lateral buds. Like next to it, there will be some other buds like this, from which other parts of the plant will be developing. Okay. So the special thing about the bulbs here is now, like they are underground stems. They are underground stems, and they are directly attached to the leaves. They will be storing food in them. They will be storing the food in them. Okay. Furthermore, they will be growing the roots in them. Getting it? And why this bulb, this structure that you see over here, this is called the bulb, by the way. And why the bulb? New plants will be growing. Okay. So that is the thing about the onion. This is how onion will be doing vegetative propagation. This is the way how it will be doing vegetative propagation. So here what we are seeing now, that like onions, they are grown from the bulbs. Like these are small disc-like structures that you can see over here. An onion is surrounded by lots of scaly leaves now. Lots of scaly leaves are there. Like if I were to show you, like for example, this is an open onion. Let's say I have cut it from the middle. I have cut it from the middle, for example. There are lots of scales in an onion. These are scaly leaves
Yes,
of an
sir.
onion. These are the scaly leaves of an onion, right? And this is the root. These are the roots of the onion right now. Now, see, there's a stem-like structure in this also. The interesting thing is that there's a stem-like structure also present over here. And right next to that, you will observe this structure. You would have seen this structure in this. If you were to open an onion, there will be a small structure like this. Have you guys observed this? This structure is called
Yes, sir.
as bud. This is the main bud of it. This is the main bud present in it. Getting it now? So that is the structure of an onion from the within. And onions can be basically grown by the vegetative propagation through their bulbs, right? Now, like this whole structure is bulb. You just sow it in the ground, a new onion will grow from the plant. So hope you guys have understood this. Is that clear to everyone? Abu Bakr, you got this or not? If not, please let me know.
Sir,
Also, like
Yes, sir.
what basically happens now. Take the first. Let me take the help of the first image over here. Let's say I have taken this onion and I have grown it in the soil. So some days later on, what I will see now, what will be happening basically, like the small onions will be growing from the side of it like this. Let me just take the another diagram. Say I have taken an onion. Let's say I have taken one onion. These are the leaves coming out of the onion. Let's say after a week, what I observe that uh, leaves would have grown further, the leaves would have grown taller, but not only that, what I will be observing, some daughter birds would be growing here. Like, for example, like this. Some daughter birds will be also growing here. What do we call this as? These are the birds, or we can call them as daughter birds. They will be growing. And after one more week, let's say, after another week, what I will say that it will now look like this. Would have grown taller like this, and the leaves would start to come out of them as well. Getting now what I'm trying to say? Hmm? Getting it, you guys now? Let me just show you guys one image. Then it will be further clear. Just allow me to share one image, and then it will be clear. I'll be resharing my screen once. Give me a moment. Look at this. This is what I was talking. Is my screen not visible? Hmm. Yes, Abubakar. This is what I was talking about. Okay, now this is what I was talking about moments ago. As you can see over here, that the daughter birds from the daughter birds, new onions have started to grow. And after the end of season, when the season of onion will be over, so this will be growing like this, the one that is over here. So these are basically the bulb, and with the help of this bulbs, new onion can be grown. That is the thing. So far, the different methods which we have learned. Okay, Priyanka is also here. Priyanka, you also look at this image. So this is what I was talking about moments ago. After the end of the season, when onion plant would have grown, so out of the main plant, these small onion plants would have grown like this. Okay. So far in the class, what we did learn about some of the different methods of natural vegetative propagation. We did learn about the case of potato, ginger, sweet potato, bryophyllum leaves, onion. We have some other examples like mint and oxalis, or we have the example of strawberry also. All of them will be doing vegetative propagation via the help of runners or stolons. So you guys tell me, out of these, which one of them are modified stems and which one is a modified root? Answer this much. Miss Abubakar, out of the sweet potato, rhizome, this ginger, potato, onion, bryophyllum, this oxalis plant or mint, which one of them is a modified stem? Priyanka will be answering which one of them is a modified root.
Sir, onion.
I'm asking about the root.
Sir, onion.
No, it's the sweet potato now.
Sir,
Sweet potato. Okay. Onion does not grow from that. Guys, onion is basically a bulb. From this bulb, a new onion will be growing. Okay. Modified stem, tell me. Didn't we learned about this right now? Moments ago, we learned about this. No? Sweet
no,
potato.
sir. Sir, sweet potato is a modified root.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Sweet potato is a modified root. I was asking
Sir, I'm
about
talking
this.
the modified stem.
Okay, modified stem. Then it is correct. I thought you were answering for that one. Then it is correct if both of you were answering onion. There were some more examples of modified stems, not just onion.
Potato.
Yes. And Priyanka, is ginger also a modified stem?
Yes.
Exactly. And rhizomes. Rhizomes, do they grow